So obedience is a big thing on the mission. You hear it preached to you all the time. Your mission president always says you need to be obedient, you need to be obedient. And it becomes almost like really annoying just hearing the same thing over and over and over again, just obedience, obedience. And you're always like thinking, I'm already doing good. Why can't you just be patient with me, And it feels like that. But I know it's really important to be obedient. And because when you're obedient, it doesn't only help you, it helps everyone around you. For instance, updating the area book I think it was a problem for me for a long time. I got home at night and I was so tired. I was just so tired that updating in the area book just did not seem fun. And often I wouldn't update it. I would just kind of go to bed and say, I'll do it tomorrow during like language study or something. And often I would forget and I wouldn't do it. But I remember this awesome experience I had that kind of taught me why we do that kind of stuff. One day, me and my companion just didn't really have anything to do. All our plans fell through, all our appointments canceled, and we were like, well, we have like 3 hours to fill. What do we do? Like, okay, well, let's look at the area book just to see what we find in there. And we saw these names from like, I think they were from like 6 years ago. And we saw particularly one name. I don't know why we felt we should go visit this person, but it was recorded on there and there was a brief description. They had previously accepted the missionaries, but for some reason they said they didn't want to see them anymore. So we go back to that house. This lady's name was Ermelinda, and the area book, it looked like it wasn't quite, it looks like this particular investigator record wasn't done too well. So the address was it was hard to find. So we go and we show up. I think the house number was supposed to be like 821 or something like that. Or that's what the record said, but there was no 821. We got there. There was an 823 and there was an 822, but there was no 821. And we were like, what? What is going on here? Like, well, we drove all the way over here. Let's start knocking doors and start asking for this person. So we just started knocking random doors and knocked all the houses around, and there was no Ermelinda. So we started walking back to our car, maybe like 30 minutes later, and I remember there was one house in the corner that we didn't knock, and there was this huge, ginormous dog in front of the house, and it started barking at us like it wanted to kill us as soon as we walked by that house. And sure enough, we're like, okay, let's knock that door. And as we're walking, this dog is like menacing and trying to kill us. He's trying to eat us. So we get around the dog and we knock the door, and this sweet little old lady opens the door and immediately starts crying. And we were just left speechless. I just looked at my companion and I said, like with my eyes, I'm trying to ask, like, what's going on? And this lady just starts crying and crying and crying and explains that the missionaries had stopped coming years ago, and that ever since they stopped coming, her life just went downhill. Her husband had left her. Her kids had left her. She was alone. She was thinking terrible things about ending her life. But she always knew that one day the missionaries would come back and knock her door and teach her the things that she wanted to hear. And she got baptized 3 weeks later. She's now like trying to get back in contact with her kids and trying to share the gospel with them. She moved to Mexico and is sharing the gospel over there, strengthening saints over there. And it was just incredible how, the missionaries that updated that area book 6 years ago, probably had no idea that this lady, needed the missionary 6 years later. But because they were diligent on something that they never saw the effects of why they need to update the area book, this lady could receive the she could receive the gospel at the precise moment that she needed it. And I think from that day on, I never missed updating the area book, because I always thought, wow, how many more Ermelindas are out there? You know, you just never know. So I think that was probably one of my favorite experiences, because it was not just me, it was like a collection of all these missionaries who we all kind of worked together somehow in some way to get the gospel to her. So it was a really cool experience.